The comparison started when Jessica and I were children. She was 18 months older, articulate beyond her years, and possessed an innate ability to charm adults. I was quieter, more analytical, content to work on puzzles or tinker with electronics while Jessica commanded attention at family gatherings. Jessica has such natural leadership qualities, Mom would tell relatives. She's going to do something important someday. When I won the state science fair in middle school, the family celebration lasted exactly one dinner. When Jessica was elected student body president the following year, Mom organized a party and invited half the neighborhood. The message was clear. Jessica's achievements mattered more because they involved people and politics, the real world of adult success. High school intensified the pattern. Jessica excelled in debate, student government, and social activities. She dated the captain of the football team, organized charity fundraisers, and was accepted to Duke with plans to major in business administration. I spent my time in computer labs, building websites for local businesses, and teaching myself programming languages that weren't offered in any class. Your sister understands how to work with people, Dad would explain when I complained about the different treatment. That's what business is really about, relationships and communication. Technical skills are important, but leadership is what creates real success. Jessica's achievements were celebrated publicly. Mine were acknowledged privately, if at all. Jessica's college experience was everything the family had hoped for. She joined a prestigious sorority, interned with major corporations, and graduated summa cum laude with a business degree and job offers from 3 Fortune 500 companies. The family was justifiably proud of her accomplishments. I chose a different path. Instead of a traditional 4-year program, I attended a state school for computer science while building a software consulting business on the side. By my sophomore year, I was earning more than most college graduates. By senior year, my client list included several major corporations who paid premium rates for custom software solutions. But the family remained focused on Jessica's traditional markers of success. When she landed a management trainee position at a major consulting firm, Mom organized another celebration dinner. When I mentioned that my software business was generating 6 figures annually, the conversation quickly shifted to Jessica's corporate advancement opportunities. Jessica's on the fast track to executive leadership, Dad would explain to interested relatives. She's got the education, the connections, and the business instincts to really make it big. The implication was clear. My technical work was merely a niche skill, while Jessica's corporate trajectory represented real success in the business world. By our mid-20s, the family's financial situation had begun to deteriorate. Dad's manufacturing business was struggling against overseas competition, and Mom's retail store was losing ground to online shopping. They maintained their lifestyle through careful budgeting and increasingly creative financing arrangements, but the stress was visible to anyone paying close attention. Jessica, meanwhile, had been promoted twice at her consulting firm and was earning a respectable salary. The family took pride in her success, often mentioning her corporate achievements and professional recognition. She had moved to Chicago, lived in a trendy downtown apartment, and traveled frequently for work assignments. What the family didn't know was that Jessica's lifestyle exceeded her income by a significant margin. The trendy apartment, the business wardrobe, the professional networking events, and the social activities required to maintain her corporate image were expensive. She was accumulating credit card debt and had already borrowed against her 401k to cover living expenses. Meanwhile, my software consulting business had evolved into something much larger. What started as custom programming projects had grown into a company that developed enterprise software solutions for major corporations. We held patents on several innovations, licensed our technology to Fortune 100 companies, and maintained recurring revenue contracts worth millions annually. But I lived modestly, drove a used car, and rarely discussed the specifics of my work with family. When asked about my business, I'd mention some software projects and change the subject. The family assumed I was doing well enough, but nothing compared to Jessica's corporate success. The first time I secretly helped the family was 3 years after college. Dad's manufacturing business was facing a cash flow crisis that threatened bankruptcy. He had exhausted traditional financing options and was considering selling the family home to raise capital. Rather than offer direct assistance, which would have raised questions about my financial capacity, I arranged for an investor group to provide emergency funding through a business loan. The terms were generous, the paperwork was handled by a law firm, And Dad never knew that his anonymous benefactor was his younger son who supposedly didn't understand real business. The loan saved Dad's company and allowed him to modernize equipment, improve efficiency and remain competitive. Within 2 years the business was profitable again. Dad credited his recovery to smart business planning and good timing, rather than the mysterious investor who had appeared exactly when needed. That success led to other anonymous interventions. When Mom's retail store needed renovation capital, another mysterious loan appeared. When Jessica's apartment rent increased beyond her budget, an anonymous scholarship fund helped her pursue an MBA program that came with a housing stipend. Over the years, I became the family's invisible financial safety net. Through a network of shell companies, investment funds, and legal arrangements, I provided the capital that kept everyone's lifestyle intact while maintaining complete anonymity about the source. Jessica's acceptance into a top-tier MBA program elevated her status within the family to near-celebrity levels. The tuition was substantial, but between loans, grants, and that mysterious scholarship fund, she managed to complete the program without financial hardship. Jessica's MBA is going to open doors that most people can't even imagine, Mom would tell anyone who would listen. She's networking with future CEOs and venture capitalists. That's the kind of education that creates real wealth. Jessica's post-MBA position at a prestigious consulting firm came with a significant salary increase and expanded responsibilities. She was traveling internationally, working with C-level executives, and gaining experience with merger and acquisition projects. The family was appropriately impressed with her rapid advancement. What they didn't see was that Jessica's expenses had grown even faster than her income. The MBA program had introduced her to a social circle where expensive dinners, designer clothes and luxury vacations were standard. Her new position required extensive travel, premium accommodations, and a professional wardrobe that cost more than most people's annual salary. Jessica was earning excellent money by normal standards, but she was spending extraordinary money to maintain her image as a successful consultant. The credit card balances were growing, the 401k loans had been maximized, and she was beginning to explore personal loans to bridge the gap between income and lifestyle requirements. Meanwhile, my business had expanded internationally. We had offices in 3 countries, partnerships with major technology companies, and revenue streams that generated wealth at levels the family couldn't have imagined. My personal net worth had reached 8 figures, and I was regularly approached by investment banks about acquisition offers or IPO opportunities. What started as anonymous family assistance had evolved into a comprehensive support system. Through various investment vehicles, I had become the silent financial foundation supporting everyone's success. Dad's manufacturing business was thriving, partly due to the original emergency loan but also because of ongoing capital injections that appeared as equipment financing and expansion funding. Mom's retail operation had been completely modernized through renovation grants and small business development funds. Even Jessica's career advancement had been subtly supported through networking events and professional development opportunities funded by anonymous sponsors. The family attributed their collective success to hard work, smart planning, and good timing. They had no idea that their financial stability depended on continued support from someone they considered the less successful sibling. My investment in their success was substantial but easily manageable given my business's growth trajectory. What had started as helping family through difficult times had become a comprehensive wealth management strategy that ensured everyone's continued prosperity. But the family dynamic remained unchanged. Jessica was still the golden child whose corporate achievements represented real success. I was still the technical guy who had done well enough in his niche field but didn't really understand how serious business worked. The Christmas gathering that changed everything happened during Jessica's second year at the prestigious consulting firm. She had recently been promoted to senior consultant and was working on a high-profile merger project. The family was eager to hear about her professional achievements and the sophisticated business world she inhabited. "The merger I'm working on involves 2 Fortune 500 companies," Jessica explained over dinner. "The complexity is incredible: regulatory issues, cultural integration challenges, stakeholder management, financial restructuring. It requires understanding business at the highest levels." Mom beamed with pride. "Jessica's working with the kind of executives who make decisions that affect thousands of jobs and billions in revenue." Dad nodded enthusiastically. "That's real business. Strategic thinking, leadership, understanding how complex organizations operate. You can't learn that from books. You need experience working at the highest levels. I listened politely, asking occasional questions about specific aspects of the merger process. My questions were informed by my own experience with corporate acquisitions, partnership deals, and business development strategies, but the family interpreted them as curiosity from someone who didn't really understand sophisticated business operations. "It's nice that you're interested in Jessica's work," Mom said privately while we were cleaning up. "Maybe you can learn something about how real business gets done at the executive level." The condescension was gentle but unmistakable. After years of providing anonymous financial support that enabled everyone's success, I was still viewed as the family member who didn't quite understand how serious business worked. The comment that triggered everything happened during dessert. Jessica had been describing the networking opportunities available through her consulting firm, the industry conferences, the client entertainment events, the social functions that brought together successful professionals from various industries. "The connections you make at this level are incredible," she said. "CEOs, venture capitalists, investment bankers, private equity partners. These are people who control billions in capital and make decisions that shape entire industries." She glanced at me with what appeared to be sympathy mixed with superiority. "It's a completely different world from small-scale technical work. You're dealing with strategic decisions that require understanding market dynamics, regulatory environments, competitive positioning, stakeholder management. It's not something you can figure out by working on computer projects." The family nodded in agreement. Jessica had perfectly articulated what they all believed about the hierarchy of business success. Technical skills were useful, but real success required working at the strategic level with sophisticated professionals who understood how major business decisions got made. Then Mom delivered the line that ended 8 years of anonymous support. "You'll never be as good as your sister," she sneered, looking directly at me. "She's the successful one." Dad immediately agreed. Finally, someone understands business. The moment crystallized everything wrong with the family dynamic. After years of secretly providing the financial foundation that supported everyone's lifestyle and career success, I was still being dismissed as someone who couldn't compete with Jessica's corporate achievements. I looked around the table at the faces of people whose mortgages I had been paying, whose business loans I had been funding, whose lifestyle I had been subsidizing through anonymous investments and carefully structured financial arrangements. Then I replied calmly, "Ask her to pay your bills then." The table went silent. Mom's face showed confusion mixed with irritation. "What does that mean?" I pulled out my phone and called my primary wealth manager at JP Morgan Private Bank. "Hi Patricia," I said when she answered. "I need to discuss restructuring some family investment positions." The confusion around the table was intensifying. Jessica looked like she was watching someone have a breakdown in public. "I want to review the anonymous funding arrangements for the Mitchell family accounts," I continued. "Specifically the manufacturing business loans, the retail operation financing, and the educational support programs." Patricia's voice was clear enough for the table to hear her response. "Of course, Mr. Mitchell. Your family support portfolio represents approximately $300 million in various loan guarantees, direct investments, and grant programs. Would you like to schedule a comprehensive review?" The silence that followed was absolute. "Also," I added, "I want to discuss liquidating my position in Hartwell Consulting Group. I believe Jessica works there." "That's correct," Patricia confirmed. "Your investment firm acquired a 40% stake in Hartwell last year as part of their expansion financing. Your representative serves on their board of directors." I looked directly at Jessica, whose face had gone completely white. "Patricia, I'd like to understand what would happen if we withdrew that investment and called in the various family loans." "Well," Patricia said thoughtfully, "liquidating the Hartwell position would likely trigger a restructuring of their operations. As for the family loans, calling them would require immediate repayment of approximately $180 million in principal and accrued interest." Mom was staring at me like I had just announced that I was actually an alien. "That's not possible," she whispered. I handed her the phone. "Would you like to ask Patricia about the investment structure?" The conversation with Patricia lasted 20 minutes. She patiently explained the network of companies, investment vehicles, and financial arrangements that I had used to support the family while maintaining anonymity. The manufacturing business loans, the retail operation funding, the educational support programs, even Jessica's consulting firm. Everything was connected to investment decisions I had been making for nearly 8 years. When Mom hung up the phone, her hands were shaking. "You've been paying our bills," she said. "I've been providing investment capital and loan guarantees," I corrected. "Through properly structured financial arrangements designed to support family business operations and educational opportunities." Jessica finally found her voice. "You own part of my company." "My investment firm owns 40% of Hartwell Consulting Group." "Yes." The capital injection helped fund their international expansion and technology modernization program. Dad was shaking his head slowly. "The emergency loan that saved my business came from a fund I established specifically to support family business ventures," I explained. The realization was hitting them that everything they had achieved over the past 8 years had been built on a foundation of capital provided by the family member they had consistently dismissed as less successful. Jessica's consulting career, which had been held up as the gold standard of business success, was partially dependent on investment capital from her supposedly unsuccessful younger brother. Mom and Dad's business recovery, their comfortable lifestyle, their financial security, all of it was connected to anonymous support from someone they thought didn't understand real business. The weeks following the Christmas revelation were difficult for everyone. Years of assumptions about success, competence, and business understanding had been completely overturned. The family had to recalibrate their understanding of who was actually successful and who had been supporting whom. Jessica took the news particularly hard. Everything she had believed about her professional achievements had been complicated by the knowledge that her employer was partially funded by her brother's investment capital. The sophisticated business world she had described with such pride included financial backing from someone she had dismissed as technically competent but strategically naive. But something positive emerged from the honesty. For the first time in years, we had genuine conversations about business, success, and family dynamics. Jessica's experience with corporate strategy was valuable, but it wasn't more valuable than entrepreneurial success or technical innovation. Her MBA provided useful frameworks, but it didn't provide superior understanding of how wealth actually gets created. I maintained all the existing family support arrangements. The anonymous loans remained in place. The business investments continued to provide capital for growth, and the educational support programs kept funding opportunities that might not otherwise exist. But the dynamic had changed fundamentally. Instead of being viewed as the less successful sibling who didn't understand real business, I was finally recognized as someone who had built substantial wealth through technical expertise, strategic thinking, and careful capital allocation. My success wasn't lesser than Jessica's. It was different and in some ways more substantial. Jessica, meanwhile, began to appreciate that corporate success and entrepreneurial success require different skills but equal intelligence and dedication. Her experience with merger and acquisition projects was genuinely valuable, but it wasn't inherently superior to building and scaling technology companies. Most importantly, the family learned that success comes in many forms. Traditional corporate advancement matters, but it doesn't matter more than innovation, entrepreneurship, or technical expertise. MBA credentials are valuable, but they're not more valuable than practical experience solving real problems for paying customers. The comparison game that had defined our relationship for decades finally ended. Instead of competing for family recognition, we began to collaborate on understanding how our different strengths could complement each other. 5 years after the Christmas revelation, the family dynamics had stabilized into something much healthier. Jessica had transitioned from her consulting firm to join my company as head of strategic partnerships, where her corporate experience and relationship management skills were perfectly suited to the role. Mom and Dad's businesses continued to thrive with ongoing investment support, but they approached that support with gratitude rather than entitlement. They understood that their financial stability was not automatic or inevitable. It was the result of careful planning and family support that should never be taken for granted. The golden child system that had dominated our childhood was finally dismantled. Instead of competing for parental approval based on whose achievements looked more impressive, we were evaluated based on our contributions to family success and our character as people. I never again let anyone in the family assume that their traditional markers of success automatically made them more qualified to judge other people's achievements. And Jessica never again questioned whether technical expertise and entrepreneurial success constituted real business. The pretending was over. The anonymous support continued, but now it was acknowledged, appreciated, and understood as part of a comprehensive family wealth strategy rather than mysterious good fortune. Most importantly, we learned that asking someone to pay your bills isn't just about money. It's about recognizing who actually provides the foundation that makes everyone else's success possible. Sometimes that foundation is invisible, but it's always essential. The conversation about who understands real business never came up again. Because we all finally understood that real business success comes in many forms, and the most important form is the kind that actually pays the bills.